So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and their challenges and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted that you have back with us Claire Gavaghan, who's the CEO at Derwent Training Association. So firstly, Claire, thank you so much for coming back and spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and Derwent Training Association to the audience and how you help people, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Well, it's lovely to see you again, Chris. Thanks for the invite to come back. I'm Claire Gavaghan. I'm the CEO at Derwent Training Association. We're an independent training provider and we're based in Malton, North Yorkshire. We deliver apprenticeships in engineering, but also team leadership. And it's great to come back in May 2023 because this is the moment that we're celebrating 35 years in business. So it's our choral anniversary on the 27th of this month. So I'm delighted to return and have an opportunity to talk with you.
Wonderful. Oh, that's wonderful. What a great milestone to celebrate. I'm so pleased. So I think we were saying before, and it's been a year since we last spoke. I'm keen to know what's changed for you and the business since we last spoke.
Well, I definitely feel a year older since we last spoke. I think it's been a very difficult year for all businesses. It's something I'm sure that we will touch on. In terms of change, I think we have seen an uptick in the metrics by which we are measured, which is great, whether that be our financials or our learner satisfaction, but also you'll be aware that we work with employers because they're sending their apprentices to us. And that satisfaction's hit 98%, which was delightful. Really thrilled because it don't get me wrong, we're not a business that does everything right all the time. We're to constant learning, constant adaptation to what employers are asking for, but to get that kind of feedback has been wonderful. Especially, and I think it's worth pointing out to people who do tune into your webinars like this, that it's a very difficult market, and sadly there's a lot of independent training providers have closed in the last year. It's a difficult market at the minute because we rely on the supply chain that is other businesses, and when they struggle, it creates obviously a knock-on effect. Yes. So sadly, a lot of our colleagues in the sector have had a really difficult time and have shut. So whilst we're very pleased, we are reflective that it's not an easy sector at the minute.
No, that's very unfortunate to hear, but I guess you know the mark of obviously longevity is you must be doing things right in the right way for your clients to want to keep engaging and coming back with you. And so what obviously you've talked about the market in general. What have been some of the key challenges for you specifically, Claire?
I think the challenges for us, and I think as the sector as in general, is the staffing supply chain. Just to put it in context, when people who deliver apprenticeships training come out of their sector, train as the teacher, trainer, lecturer, and then start delivering on it generally. And what you're not going to get is people who train as an engineer or a hairdresser or whatever sector and then go, right, now I'll go into teaching. Generally, it's as people have moved through their career. So it's fair to say in post-16 education, there's an ageing workforce. Right. And if you don't have a constant supply of people coming through, yes, who will then deliver the skills training, at some point, I've described it a little bit like a steam train coming down the track, I think before, may have even used that expression last year. It is hard to recruit trainers. So that remains a challenge for us, sourcing people who want to either leave their current industry to train as a teacher, or are already in industry, in our industry of teaching, and want to change jobs. So it is a difficult market at the minute to find and recruit staff, and trying to do that, being forward thinking rather than reactive, and have that level of succession planning. That's something we spend quite a bit of time doing actually now. And I might jump around some of the things you might ask, but one of the ways that we try to do that is actually go to a headhunter, which is unusual for us. Hey, look, this is what we offer as a package. If you work for us, we're not just going to take anybody. We want the right person.
Yeah.
I've been working with them quite a while now, and I get to see who they've spoken to and who they approach. And it's generally people who might not be thinking, I want to get a new job. So we've taken an approach to it. And I think, touch wood, it will pay off shortly. But it does take patience. And I think if you don't plan to recruit over a long period of time, you do end up making some bad recruitment decisions. So that's what we're trying to avoid, because as we all know, they're incredibly costly. So our biggest challenge is not recruiting apprentices, it's recruiting the trainers.
That makes sense, and it's quite innovative, I would think, for an organisation like yours to look at that outgoing headhunting rather than just the incoming advertise for the job and we'll see who applies. Because it is, I mean, I'm sure we probably touched on this last time, but it is challenging across industry to find new recruits. I think the marketplace certainly slowed almost to a halt during the lockdown and the COVID experience, and it still seems from the work I do with quite a lot of recruitment companies to still be quite slow. So I think going out and finding people that aren't necessarily looking for something, but and looking to see if they might be interested in a move is really innovative. So that's well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's absolutely brilliant. So as well as obviously the longevity that you identified, the anniversary that you're celebrating, what other key wins have you seen over the last 12 months?
Well, as well as the metrics, which we were always looking at those, we took a decision to introduce a new website, which would be interactive for the people using it, because it was tired. I felt, as did many, it was a bit boring and staid. So again, we went out and went to tender, and we worked with, am I allowed to mention who we worked with?
Absolutely.
Okay, we worked with CX Marketing, who are based in Gateshead, and we went through this whole process where they came and spent a day with us, talking about our ethos, why we worked in the sector we worked in. So they got a real feel for, I would describe, our energy, and how we work. And then they were translating that into what a website could look like. And it was very back and forth, and, can we do something that reduces some of our back of house work, so that systems actually work for us? So we basically too many spreadsheets. So, and they came back to us and went, well, you can have this, 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 and this. And actually it's working really well. It's it's got live videos on, if you like, of people talking about why they do apprenticeships with us. It's not talking heads like me. And it just works seamlessly. Really, really pleased with that. And people's feedback is it's fresh. It represents the company well. So super pleased with that. And we've also focused and invested in our building and our resources for the learners. When we make a profit, we're not for profit organisation, so there's no dividends or anything going on like that. We've invested in the equipment that we have for the learners, dedicating some different rooms to different use. And that's all gone down extremely well with staff and learners. And I think just to keep us moving forward, all the time, thinking, how can we do this better? It is something that, you know, I think has been a big win for us, the fact that we constantly invest and don't sit still.
Yeah, great. Absolutely brilliant. And how good at celebrating your wins would you say you are, as an individual and an organisation?
Not as good as we could be, I think. I think that at times when you get something like your metrics go up, you might have 30 seconds dancing around your office or whatever, or telling your nearest and dearest who are bored of it. And then you're like, right, what's next? And we don't take sufficient time on some of the smaller wins.
Yeah.
But we've started to change that. I will give a plug here. We've started working with Action Coach as a senior team, which we needed to do. We'll come on to, if we may, in a minute. I'll explain that. So we are now looking at, well, where are our small wins every week? Because it lifts you as a business team. Sometimes you get really bogged down. And whilst we'll celebrate the big things like the awards every year and Coral Anniversary coming up, we've got quite a big event going on for that. We now take a little bit more time each week, even if it's just 5 minutes amongst ourselves, to go, that we've moved that project on, or this has been achieved. And let's just acknowledge that what we have done, which is so necessary but easy to forget.
Yeah, it's so easy just to pass by and go, yes, okay, we've done that, but now what's next? And without that sort of level of refreshing of, yes, we're doing a great job, yes, we're doing well, yes, you know, yes, we're achieving things, it can create an imbalance, can't it, if we're always looking at perhaps what didn't go quite so well or what we've yet to do.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, one of the things it did do was it added to our tiredness. And one of the things I personally was reflecting on was that as an individual, and we then sat and I think we accepted as an SLT as well, senior leadership team, we felt stuck and exhausted. Yeah. And came into the business, just to refresh you, in January 2019.
Yes.
Massive amount of change.
Yeah.
In a year. And just, it's an old model, but I think it's Lewin. When you're making change, you unfreeze something, you change it, you freeze it in. Yeah. Well, we'd unfrozen practices and then we put new things in.
Right.
And then we went into the pandemic. And then we were adapting. Every business was adapting on its feet. How are we doing this? How are we doing this? You know, can we do that? Can we have people in the building? And for everybody, it was exhausting. And then you kind of come out of the pandemic, which was a hell of a lot longer than we all anticipated. Yep. We all went through things personally as well as professionally in that time. And we kind of went, right, let's crack on. We're back to it, normality. Yep. And actually, we didn't realise how tired we were and how things we'd put in place 2 years earlier, actually, we probably needed to redress and refresh.
Yes.
So, you know, we were stuck. And that's why, in the end, we are with Action Coach, working with Action Coach collectively and individually to say, this is how I feel.
Yep.
And needed someone outside to remind us to take wins, reflect on and but also try and unpick collectively and individually why we feel the way we feel. Yeah. And some of that revolved around, we were using expressions when we were being brutally honest with each other. We felt there was a repetition of rubbish. We weren't using those words, but that's what it was. Yeah. that we were dealing with all the time, adding to our tiredness, because we didn't ever just go, let's just sit back, let's look at a bigger picture here, let's reset our goals. And it seems so easy to say, but sometimes, I guess, like personal therapy, you need someone on the side helping you to say what you need to say.
Yep.
So we're still working with Action Coach, and there's things that are coming out of it and helping us along, which is great. And
Brilliant.
I know this isn't a plug for businesses, but just anyone, sometimes when you need to sit back, having someone external help you through that,
Brilliant,
not judgmentally, is worth considering, I would say.
Yeah, great. It feels, the thing I think a lot of people think is, well, I should be able to work that out by myself, and you sort of can, you should, but it's very difficult to self-analyze. We get this sort of blindness to what's in front of us. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it
does. I felt stuck, and I kept saying, I just can't free myself of what I feel is weighing me down, but I don't know what's weighing me down. And one of the it seems silly, but in my office I have a whiteboard, and during the period of great change, I would write up there what needed to change, and then write it in a different pen when it had been achieved.
Right.
Been there for nearly 2.5, 3 years, and what I realised was it was nagging at me. We achieved that in X amount of time. Why aren't I doing that still?
Yeah.
So in the end, I just cleared the board, got rid of it. Brilliant. And that simple act of just clearing that. So every time I walked into the office, it wasn't just nagging.
Yes.
Even though it was full of achievement, was great. And I just then went, right, what's our now big audacious goal that we're going for?
Right.
And that's what it's being used for. So it needed something to, I'm not going to say energize, but unblock us to just clear the deck.
Brilliant. That's great. Really, really great to hear. And sort of what, last one, what have you learned from both your wins and your challenges?
I think on a personal level is that I know this, but it's a reminder, is that we don't achieve anything alone. I'm as a CEO, I'm so reliant on everybody doing their job, and as much as they're reliant on me doing mine. And what I've learnt from the wins and challenges as a CEO is that sometimes it's absolutely okay to think and not have something every single day where I go to, I've achieved that.
Yeah.
And that's where I was being hard on myself. So I have my little book that I write in, if I have a meeting, my notes go in there, everything goes in there with the date. And some days I'd go, I've only written 2 lines, I'm embarrassed. I hope no one sees this book. But actually what I've been doing is thinking and reading and researching. And I would, quite frankly, beat myself up for taking time to think about what next. How could we achieve that? Who do we need to bring in? Who do we need to speak to for advice? How do we move this project forward at the same time of doing this, that, and the other? And actually, I'm beginning to learn and understand that actually there's a proportion of my time that actually needs to be spent thinking as a CEO. And that's okay. So stop beating yourself up.
really great. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's our job, and that's the thing to do. Because and I often speak to people and say, oh well, if I get a chance, when I'm walking the dog, or if I'm, to think about the business, well, this is really key front and center stuff. It shouldn't be when we're walking the dog when we should be enjoying the dog. It should be sit down, and think. But I think it's a challenge with entrepreneurial driven people, that if we're not doing something, we feel like, something almost practical, or we're not making things happen, that somehow is a challenge. But that time to think is so valuable. I mean, it really is. And that's, in many ways, that's what our team are expecting us to do. It's almost like that's our job, to be able to identify the way forward, the vision, the goals, etc.
And I was challenged to think of a big, audacious goal by the coach we're working with, Andrew. And so I got a piece of paper, as you do. I like to have a pen in my hand, even when I'm thinking. Started writing down things that would mean a lot to the people who work in the sector. And one of them would mean something to people who don't. So around Ofsted inspection, which we are graded good at from last year. Right. And I sat there and wrote, outstanding inspection result. And I left it there a bit. It was one of the things I'd written down. And then I took a pen and crossed it out, because I thought, do you know what? Is having the word outstanding on our website going to bring more people to us, either as an employer or as to train with us, rather than the word good? Honestly, no. So why on earth would we spend time chasing that as a goal?
Yep.
So I put a line through it, and that felt great. I mean, we still obviously have an eye to it and ensure that we're doing everything in terms of regulations and audits and all that. But to have that solely as a goal would not do anything to improve the business.
No.
At all.
You've got 98% satisfaction stats. The customers are happy. Ofsted can do whatever Ofsted want to do. That's an indication. But they're doing their grading system. That's great. Interestingly enough, those two things you would expect to match up. If you've got 98%, you would expect to get outstanding, which may be an indication for what Ofsted are looking for compared to the marketplace, perhaps. But
I'm not going down that rabbit hole with you.
Go down that way. No, okay, that's absolutely fine.
So in the end, it focused us on, okay, I've got these, and I wrote up on this very clear board to double our turnover within 3 years. And then I invited the senior team in and went, look at that. And they went, right. And I said, and this is how I think what it would mean if we were to do that. And there'd be all these wins, but there'd be these challenges. Do you think it's doable? Like, well, yeah. Right. Come on then.
Great. Love it.
And, it's the essence of smart targeting. But we were so stuck, so tired, that I don't think I'd have ever got us to that. And it wasn't just me, sitting there and plucking it out of the air. There'd been all the usual discussion and stuff goes on. But actually being able to put it there and going, that would allow us to do X, Y, and Z with the building, to do for the learners, to invest in our staff, etc. So let's go for it. And it is audacious. It's a massive goal.
Really?
And if we don't get there in 3 years, the actual distance traveled towards it will still be significant.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we would have got to the position we're in as a senior team, and we're still working through it. If we hadn't gone, do you know what? I really think we need some coaching. We need to invest in ourselves, because we haven't done that. We've invested in the building. We've invested in the staff. Not done a single thing for ourselves.
It is strange when you think about the key people are ultimately often the greatest asset in the business, and as you say, we can invest on a physical thing because you can almost see it happening or see it. But yeah, it's that investment in ourselves that's so key. And through this whole process, then, what are some of the things that you've learned about yourself?
Well, we've only just done the online questionnaires, the DISC forms, I think they're called.
Oh yes.
And I've only had my summary back. And well, let me just say there were 0 surprises in that summary. I was like, okay. So there's no real, when you've been in a management position for a long time, you've done different kinds of surveys, you've done different kinds of reflections. I think the thing that I learned was just how stuck I was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
At the moment, I'm sure there will be other things I learn about myself as I go through the rest of the 6 to 9 months that we're doing it, because I certainly don't know everything. But I didn't appreciate just how stuck my brain was. I was almost a functioning CEO, i.e. I was doing what was expected of me. I was producing the report. I was making sure the budgets, etc. I was doing what needed to be done. And all the time I'm going, we need to grow, we need to grow, we need to grow. But I was stuck and I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
And it just needed someone blocking. So I think I hadn't realised how stuck I was.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's great that looking back, isn't it? Just to see the difference. So I mean, obviously you've set a big audacious goal, which is wonderful. So we can see that obviously the future is growth. What are some of the challenges you see as you move forward, if any?
Stuff that I've repeated, the staffing, I think, will always be in our sector an issue.
Yes.
And I think some of that is the other challenge is dealing with a government's agenda, which is forever changing. And, you get the big headlines. We want 3 million more apprentices, or we're going to put, I don't know, £1 billion into skills training, whatever it is, which is wonderful and right and proper. But often you sit there and go, how the hell are we meant to do that? So sometimes adapting to, responding to government's priorities is difficult.
Yeah.
Especially I can't, and it's not, I'm not here to make any kind of political statement, but I think we have had about 5 secretaries of state for education in X number of years. So there's a lack of stability there, which makes it difficult.
Yeah.
So there's all those sort of external challenges that come at you as you try and respond. Changes in funding of apprenticeships. And I know I said this before a year ago. Everything's costing more, but the amount of money we get per learner has not changed.
No.
So the margins are being squeezed. So those kind of challenges will always exist for us. I can't see any costs going down at the moment. So managing that and returning that surplus as a not-for-profit so that we can invest is difficult. Yeah. And those challenges, I don't see those going away. I just don't.
No, that makes sense. But obviously it's great to see that you set such great goal. You're aware of the challenges, and I think awareness is the first part. Isn't it? Once we know there's a challenge, we can do something about it. So just looking again to the future, is there any sort of key initiatives you might be launching that we should be looking out for this year, Claire? Any new?
Well, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this, and this is probably indicative of how long sometimes it takes to get an initiative off the ground if you want to do it right. And that is the expansion of the apprenticeship in team leadership stroke supervision. We've been so very close on a number of occasions to appointing someone to take that forward. And then there's something where we've gone, no. So we haven't. Yep. So we've not moved on at the speed a year ago I would have liked us to have moved on at. But then we've sat back and gone, do you know, that wouldn't have worked, would it? No, it wouldn't have worked. And you almost feel desperate because you just want this to work. Yep. And if it was a case of just having a warm body, but it's not. Yep. So it's a key aspect of our growth model, but we are prepared to wait for the right person, go and get head hunting, that right person who will be right for Derwent training, right for what we want to achieve in order to move on, because to make an error would be costly. Yep. And we're not prepared to do that. So, yeah, that watch out for that, because once I think we've got the right person, I expect quite rapid growth. Brilliant. In that area. But our lesson is take your time, because in the planning stage, even though you want it to go super quick, yes, the problems down the road, if you do, will be almost insurmountable, both reputationally and also financially for us, and we're not prepared to take that risk.
No, brilliant. It is, the cost of, we often say to people, the cost of having the wrong person is way in excess of the cost of not having anyone at all, because at least you know the gaps there. At least you know the job's not being done, and you can make allowances. If you get the wrong person, you believe the wrong job's being done and it's not, then that can be really significant in terms of challenging to a business.
Yeah. And I think also, because we are changing our building, the inside of the building. So, for example, we're just installing a new materials testing room for the engineers, which I'm pretty certain other educational establishments in our location don't have. So we've tried to create something different and new, but it will be used. And then we've also invested in other equipment around PLCs, programmable logic controllers. So our mechatronics room's getting a facelift as well. So, with the investments there, and these are wins, and they're exciting for us. So we are moving always in the right direction.
Brilliant. Well, Claire, it's been delightful again and really fascinating, and I'm so glad that the coach is working so well for you, and we're forward. So again, be great perhaps not to wait 12 months to catch up again, but I suspect your speed of change is going to be quite significant. So I'll make a note, maybe we'll catch up in 6 months or so. And so thank you for your time. And if anyone's watching would like to contact you or Derwent Training, what's the best way to do so?
Well, I guess you have my name on the screen, perhaps throughout the thing anyway. So it's claire.gavaghan@derwenttraining.co.uk, or just go to our website, which is derwenttraining.co.uk. There'll be a link there to email the general office, and they will always get in touch with me. But you know what, Chris, come and visit us. Come and have a look around. We'd love to see you. And that's an invite for anybody who wants to just come and have a look. See how we do things, whether you're in our sector or not, or you just want to do some networking. We're always happy to do that because we want to learn from other people too.
Brilliant. That will be wonderful. I think I'll make a note to do that personally, but I think I've got one or two other people that might be interested in.
Do send them our way.
Brilliant. Well, once again, Claire, thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking again soon in the future.
Lovely. Thank you. Bye, Chris.
Thank you.